Good morning or good evening to you. How you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing better now that I see you. It's been like more than a week, so it's
Like
been
that's so long, more than a week, but I love that.
right. Uh,
I'm
hmm.
happy to see you smiling and you doing better.
Me too. I'm feeling like myself in my head a lot more. My body just got to catch up. But
I will.
my Ima always said, uh, if you look good, you might feel good. And then if your mind is good, your body will follow. So,
Absolutely. Why, ain't no reason why I shouldn't.
right. By the way, can you introduce yourself?
So I am Rookamah Goldston. I am officially YoShaMa's. Well, I'll let you tell her let her tell you who I am. I'm an intuitive healer and a life coach. I am the owner of Healing to Win coaching program. I am the founder of a program called Our Winner Circle for women over between 35 and 55 who are struggling with the reality of family trauma or emotional neglect. Usually it's from childhood. So basically the program helps you bridge the inner dialogue that don't let you connect with yourself to the outer dialogue of the beast person that you would become. Because I deal with women who are highly motivated, who are already on the journey to finding their authentic selves and creating a better relationship with themselves and with others by releasing whatever is holding them back. We noticed that I said highly motivated, inspired women. So you've already been through a couple of hands. Life has already gave you a couple of processes, and I'm not the first person you come to do your healing work. I'm kind of like probably the final person you will meet. So I need you to already come with a lot of built-in internal reservoir of who you are and where you want to go. But you got those little dark places that's keeping you stuck tied to family and that's dysfunctional for you. And you know it, but other people don't know it. So that's what I would say I am.
That's a good introduction. I really like that.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny because I struggled for a long time to clarify what it is that I do for other people. Like I knew I was doing something great. I just didn't know what it was, right? Um, but to me, who you are, this is my Doda. Doda means auntie. One of my from my youngest memories, my run to the person that I ran to for just loving. She loved on my hair, she loved on me, and just I just always remember you smiling. You know? I always remember you smiling and being a person who is known for smiling all the time. It feels good to like think now in my memory that I was around you who were always smiling, which is ironic considering the trauma you've been through yourself that I didn't know nothing about. I didn't know it, I didn't feel it. It wasn't until I was old enough to start recognizing things that I could tell. But Doda doesn't know. Okay, I'm gonna refer to her as Doda because that's what, I've always referred to her to. She doesn't know what we're gonna talk about today. And it's a little bit off of what we don't normally talk about this. I guess we talked about it a few times, but um, not only is she my daughter, but recently she started helping me with my healing process. And I've been going through a lot of spiritual things lately, as well as a big move from Oregon State to Texas, and a big move in my business and my family and myself. And as much as it's all been great things, sometimes great things are also overwhelming. And so having someone to help me not only deal with the overwhelming part, but also, like you said, the childhood drama that always surfaces no matter how great you've become, or no matter how good or you are, or how big you are in your business. For some reason, The childhood stuff always surfaces. And you told me once, you said it's because you never dealt with it. And for me, I always thought, okay, if I hurry up and rush to my happy part, that I was okay, that I wouldn't have to deal with it. But then all of a sudden something triggers it and I'm acting like I'm 2 years old again. So this is what she's been helping me with. And I can truly say that I have been growing a lot and on steroids because I mean, you did tell me, you said you were already on the way, which I knew, but the things that you've been teaching me and the tools that you've been giving me have helped me not be that reactionary person, to actually just sit down and think and be with myself and not need other people to help me come to decisions where they, planting their own seeds and stuff out of love, but that's what you've done for me. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I was on my way back. Okay, I'm a happy-go-lucky person. And I don't think about a lot of the scary things that people think about in the world because in my mind, if I think about them, I draw them to me. But also just because I like to be happy. If I'm thinking about all these scary things, I'm gonna be happy, right?
Right.
But every once in a while, these things creep in. So I went to Lenore's gymnastics competition. The whole way there, the street was empty. We were driving, we were good. We had a great time there. And on the way back, halfway back, I saw a cop car. Luckily, I was doing the speed limit. I was like a little bit over the speed limit. But then I got all of these like panic flashes of what if I'm pulled over in Texas,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you what went through my head. It's like I've been teaching my kids, I've been trying to change like generational thoughts with
Mm.
kids and generational fears. And so like I teach my kids things like put your seatbelt on because if the cop pulled me over and your seatbelt is not on, their job is to make sure you're safe. And if you're not safe, that means mommy is not doing her job, which means mommy is going to be in trouble. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So
Still,
that's
still kind of fear-based pointing to them, but okay. Because the reason why you want them to have their seatbelt on for me
they want to be.
is
I say because you need to be safe.
so you
Mommy's
need to
job
be
is to
safe.
make sure. Okay, I gotta rephrase that. I tell them you need
Yeah.
to be safe. Mommy's job is to make sure you're safe. And if we get pulled over and you don't have your seatbelt on, it means mommy wasn't doing her job, which means that the cop now has to do his job, which is to make sure you're safe, which means mommy gets in trouble because I didn't do my job. Okay. Now,
Okay.
it's not always that way, but the first part is because I need to make sure you're safe.
Right.
But with kids ask questions. So then you got
Right.
have more and more answers. But then the flashes of like all the things that I've been taught and seen of what if I do all of this right and we get pulled over and something traumatic happens and I've been teaching my kid that this person is supposed to help me or this person is supposed to help you, that the cop job is to help us, but it ends up being a not so great situation. It ends up being one of those situations that we hear about, where
Mhm.
violent things happen or things that shouldn't happen. And it's me and my two kids.
Mhm.
And ain't nobody around to witness or to help us. So that fear kicked in and then my body tensed up. And then I was like, oh my God, I gotta make sure I'm on the speed. And it took me, I feel really good in the fact that it only took me like 10, 15 minutes to like get those thoughts out of my head and to get back to being happy go lucky. Because in the past, it would have taken for, like it probably would have been my whole trip back. It would have been ruined by these fears. And then I would have driven even worse because I'm panicking, you know? But I thought that that would be a good topic to talk to you about because if I be honest with myself, I've had great interactions with cops.
I was going to ask, where
Pulled
did this
over.
come from?
it was always a warning, I mean, when I was younger, I got speeding tickets, but that's it, just speeding tickets, and even then they were talking to me nicely, you know. I always got great treatment. I remember passing out on the side of the road though, that I was so tired. I felt drugged. Lenore was in the car. I pulled over and we went to sleep. And the cop came and knocked on my door. He was like, "Are you okay, ma'am?" I said, "Yeah, honestly, I'm just so tired. I was scared to drive all the way home." So he told me, he said, this is very dangerous being on the side of the highway like this. I'll follow you home just to make sure you get safe, you get home safe. I just don't want you right here. A car could hit you, somebody could rob you, all of these things. And he followed me home. That's the kind of interaction I get with cops. Um, yeah, so I feel like a lot of like my fears when it comes to this stuff is things that have been like told to me over the years of growing up or movies that we've seen. And honestly, this last fear came in from a friend of mine before we moved out to Texas. They was happy for me, but also like a little bit scared because she said her sister was speeding, got pulled over by the cop. I don't, I've been mixing stories up, but it turned violent. He did some things to her that he shouldn't have been doing. I can't remember if she was alive or not. I think her sister passed away, but don't quote me on none of this stuff. But that's what kicked into my head, all because she was speeding. At least that's what the story was that was told to me, you know? And that was the recent thing that came into my head when it's happened. Like when these thoughts would come into my head. I just thought it's something important to talk about because I truly believe that there's a lot of people in this world that look like me, that have these same fears and have never even experienced, this bad behavior. And as much as there's bad cops out there, I also think there's a lot of good cops. There's a lot of good cops that these bad cops be overshadowing. So,
Okay, so as you was talking, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, that's definitely something we're gonna have to process. So if you want to process it here, it's wonderful because it'll give people opportunity to process a similar collective fear that I know as a Black woman, I didn't grow up with this collective fear. I grew up in Israel. You got pulled over, people jumped out of the cars, they argued. So my mirror of what I saw was different than what I experienced when I went to America. And, of course, the news, brutality, Black men, crazy stuff with Black women, of course, and then you're in Texas, I can see that being something that's shut into you. But the question is, does that fear belong to you or is it a collective fear, somebody else's story that you've decided that you want to wear? It's like putting on somebody else's clothes that don't fit and you struggling. I mean, I like to just use the terminology. You like Cinderella's stepsister sliding on the shoe, pretending like you could fit in your foot bust through it. So that's really what it is when you put on somebody else's trauma and you carry it and you're making your own story. If I ask you in your personal family, have any of you or your brothers or sisters been um, mistreated by police brutality?
no,
Basically, the police has been a good source of protection for you. Like you teach your daughters, their job is to help protect us. But somewhere, when the moment of the actual event happened, that you didn't remember that inside of yourself. Maybe your kids didn't even notice you buckled them in, but I guarantee you probably turned around and said, "Y'all got y'all seatbelts on?" Because that's just a natural reaction when we feel like we're in danger. So there's a part of us that can never be in danger. Of course, the miracles talk about if there nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists because God is in every space and God's peace is in every space. So basically, what you did is you lean towards the ego. The ego is the thing that brings in a lot of fear. Whenever you know that I'm just a child of God, police pull me over, surely I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to find out what's going on. And in my mind, the police is here to assist me. And so if that's in my mind, then also in my body, my cells, my organs, everything inside of me is going to breathe and live that because what I know for sure is what I breathe into every experience I have. So I have this new technique that I'm working on. You see, this is a spiral, right? Can
Yeah.
you see the spiral?
Yeah.
So it's a spiral. Inside the spiral, this spiral starts from the outside and it goes all the way in. And it's a black dot in it. That black dot is called fear or trauma, or usually it's some type of trauma, but it's called fear. But it's something that we hold as a secret. We consider it something very valuable for us, but it's a secret. We hold the secret very, very close. What happens when somebody comes near that secret is that we shoot darts at them. Please do not come into my protective space.
Mm-hmm.
When we shoot these darts inwardly, we shoot them into ourselves. So
Oh.
we got it covered inward and outwardly, where these darts are not allowing anything to come and break that secret. The secret is I'm a Black woman, and somewhere in my experience, I have a fear, and this fear says that police can be brutal with me. And because you have that fear, when the lights went on, it wasn't even for you. That fear showed up. It's a collective energy. Usually, all of this stuff comes external triggers. My friend told me a story. That story penetrated me. She was a woman. The woman is possibly dead. And so you going through the motions of storing that secret. How we know we have a secret that's filled with fear is that there's shame around it. Would you get up right now and as strong as you are, as resilient as you are, as determined as you are, as happy-go-lucky, would you get up in a among your peers, and this will be a story that you would share naturally? If you was in a room full of white people, would you stand up and say, "Let me tell you what happened to me
Honestly, today, yeah.
today?" Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But before, because
No.
this fear, your fear is not really your fear. So you got to collect the fear. So even if you talked about it, you would talk about the collective fear of hearing somebody's story. Even when you introduced this, I didn't hear that this is my story, but you're feeding it to your children as if this is our story. And here's where we do the generational damage and the generational change. When I get in a car with my children, I'm going to say, put your seatbelt on, because I'm going to remember that it's possible, very possible, that either I could be hit, somebody could hit me. And if that happened, I want to make sure we got all the covering we have from this vehicle we using, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not
But
fear.
they should have never even came up.
The police don't have nothing to do with you being safe. If the police pull us over, use the story you're telling the police, your daughters are, the police is always there to help us. So then the fear jumped in. I want to know where that fear came from. I want to become curious about that fear. I want to be aware about this fear. Let me play in a game of curiosity. Where did this fear come from? Is it mine? I want to break it down. Once I get to the point that I can become curious, you see this spiral? This spiral does not have the back dot in it. But this spiral comes from the inside. It started off inside of me. I'll open it up by becoming curious to understand what else is possible. Who else? What other stories can I tell my children? How can I change myself so that the next time I experience this, I won't even be in it for 15 minutes. I will be in it for a flicker. And I say, uh-oh, where did we just go? The ego just grabbed us, right? That's the ego. And then if the only thing I'm here for is to be a child of God and to be loved and embraced by God's love, everybody I interact with, they're going to be on this side. But I have to do the expansion from within, because that experience you felt the panic, the rush of a panic inside of you. It wasn't nothing external. Now, you could have drew an accident right to yourself. You could have slammed on your brakes. You could have started driving fast because you got nervous. You could have caused the thing that you don't want to happen. That's us who caused that. And because you already been doing some level of work, you was like, wait a minute, what's going on with me?
Mm-hmm.
What what am I whose is this? What am I carrying? And you caught yourself. And then you showed up less than a week now for us to have a conversation on it, because it's a bigger conversation for someone else. Because what I know, I share and I teach with other people. That way I get it for myself. What I'm teaching you, you're going to teach to someone else. And that's how you know the knowing, and that's how you know you're in the presence of this God cycle that's always expanding, and you removed yourself from the ego place that always close you in and trap you in.
Yeah.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
All
I'm
right.
loving this. This is amazing. I'm glad we told this. You know, it's funny because what helped me get out of it was the reminder, just like you said, that I know I'm here to do something great. I know I'm here to help other people. So if I'm supposed to do that, why would God just let me just end my life, right here? You know, I know my kid just told me, I think I told you that after her gymnastics competition, she won. I was really proud, but the proudest moment was when she came to me and she said, Mommy, you were right. And I'm asking her, what am I right about? She said that people who are great in this world, like Biles, Martin Luther King, the presidents, that they knew from a young age that they were going to be great. And she said, so I know I'm going to be great. I know that I'm here for a reason. And that, like, thinking about all of that, it was like, okay, yeah, we're good. It wiped out that fear so fast. Um,
Did you talk to her about it though? Did you tell her that the thing that helped me in a moment, I um babe, the thing that I want you to know is that you won those awards and mom was driving back and I had a little moment with myself. And when I had that moment, the thing that helped me was reminded me that you were already great. That all of those people who we said before, they became great, but they knew that they were great already. And that the mere fact that it flashed through my mind what you telling me, Mom, I'm already great. Because I'm going to become great. That's somewhere in the future. She's great right now. And not because she won the awards, and not because she your daughter, and not because of anything, because God breathed the breath of life through her. She is great. She's incredible. She has her own knowing. Now she's acting out what her creative part of life is on the planet. Like each one of those people you named, and like yourself. You've
mhm.
always been incredible. I tell you that all the time. From birth, this chick right here, now she introduced me. Now she's always been my heart, like one of my heartbeats from birth. And she's always been great. She's always had this star that kind of danced around her, through her, and over her. That I've always told her, anywhere you go in life, you're going to be successful because you are success. So even that moment, these moments that you have and that you share in the layers of the ego, because that's all it is, layers of trauma, layers of collective buildup because you're an empath. So you pick up everybody's stuff and you carry it with you. And it's just learning how to evaporate those things and always come back into your center of who you are. But I want you to make sure you teaching Liam and Lenore these things as you're going along with it, because they have to know that I'm being inspired by you, just as you're being inspired by me.
I'm gonna have to tell her that part. But we did have the conversation yesterday where I was telling her just the fact that you were able to voice that shows just how great you are. The fact that you're able to look at a room and say, oh, this is just another training. I said, when you go to competitions, when most people go to competitions, they get so nervous because to them it's something extra special. And yes, it's special, but the fact that you can like put all of that out of your head and you see it as just another training, it will prevent you from getting hurt. It will prevent you from messing up, and caring too much about it. Like it's just another day in the greatness of your life. And so we had this conversation last night about it when we were driving home. I
Mhm.
was telling her I played this song for her. It's called Jericho. I'm gonna
Jericho, 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 tumbling walls. That one.
I don't know. She talks about how she's her own she doesn't need armor because she's her own armor. That's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And
That's one of my favorite songs. That's my hype. That's one of my hype up songs when I'm ready to do a workshop.
yeah.
Uh, hey, I'm from outer space. Got the Milky
Yeah.
Way. That one. Yeah,
I
that's
just heard
incredible.
it before her competition, and I
Oh
played it
man.
all morning on the way there. And only last night I played it for her and I made her read the lyrics. And I told her, I said, I'm gonna tell you the way that I understand this song. that you are your only competition, that nobody else around you matters, that if you get a 9.575, your next step is to beat that. Like it's not about nobody else. It's about you making yourself more and more incredible, and that you have everything you need to do that. You don't need nothing from the outside. You're surrounded by greatness. You are greatness. And that,
It
right?
comes from within.
Yeah.
And just remind her to have fun and to bring a lot of joy to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's
we
what
don't want her to.
I said. I don't want you to panic and be, and stress about it. I just want you to enjoy it and have fun and be you, because you
Even when you use the word panic and stress about it, you taking her into the fear.
can.
Okay. So
Okay.
when you having conversations with her, remind her that life is about fun and joy and happiness. And no matter what happened, no matter how you perform, if you got a 6.9 or a solid 10, every time you have a performance, I want you to come back and tell me what you learned about yourself, how much fun you had, and what was the joy in it. When you train up her mind to be in joy, everywhere she goes, she's going to look for the joy instead of looking for the moments of panic. Now, she's going to have whatever moments she needs to have.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pull it all away from her at one time, but she's going to remember your voice louder than anybody else's voice. That this thing that you're doing is just a part of your regular day.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my keys to success. I don't put on no special airs for the gifts that God gave me. I can do it anywhere. I don't need to fast before I do it. I pray all the time. Like I can't even believe we didn't pray on when I came in.
We
But
can't
anyway,
now. It ain't never too late.
yeah, absolutely. But I always pray so I can invite everybody in with me and bring my spirit to complete calm so that I can hear and feel. But when I'm in it, I'm constantly in it because it's the miracle of who I am and the talent of who I came here to be and how I came here to serve. So I never make a big to do about it, no matter if I'm working with the smallest person, quote unquote, because there's no such thing, or the most insignificant person that the world says is insignificant, that I can see Messiah in the homeless person who land on the streets and filled with drugs. And I can also see the Messiah in the president, like, because I can see the Messiah through my own eyes. So I'm going to see the Messiah everywhere I go, if that's even possible, or if it's just the light, or whatever terminology is named. So
Mm-hmm.
let's for real stop and do the prayer.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
Because I
let's.
think I really love your prayer, and I'm very specific nowadays about the prayers that people say around and for me. So I want people to hear this prayer, honestly.
All right.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, just humble your spirit and allow yourself to be present. Kumaya kwa vyepotu oivecha, vianusumi sanecha mipanecha. Kumaya kwa vyepotu oivecha, vianusumi sanecha mipanecha. Kumaya kwa vyepotu oivecha, vianusumi sanecha mipanecha. Yahwa sitaki takufia giti latecha. Thank you, Yahweh, I am that I am. Blow up the wind, creator of all, for allow YoShaMa and I to come together to do her healing work, to have this healing conversation, to share the miracles of life that flows through us to the listeners and the viewers. Thank you for allowing us to come together. We invite the light workers, ancestors, angels, guides, spirits, master teachers, master healers, beings of light, beings of consciousness, who are vibrating to the highest and purest frequencies of love and light. We know that you're always with us. When we call upon you, we reach deeper and higher levels, and we go into the cells and tissues and pull out things that no longer serve our highest and best good and give it to nature. When nature knows how to transform it to its nothingness or bring it back to its purest state. We give thanks for releasing hidden loyalties, very thoughts, feelings, and emotions that don't serve our highest and best good. We ask, has it get any better than this, and what else is possible? And we thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Hallelujah.
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 Selah. Amen. Ashe.
That's beautiful prayer. Um, on the same topic, I was having thoughts go through my head when you was praying. This so okay, I know this conversation comes up with me in these interviews. It's been coming up because I think there's a lot to learn from it. But when a war broke out in Israel, it instilled panic into me. Because I lived in this bubble, this happy-go-lucky bubble, and I couldn't, like, the bad stuff. I don't even watch scary movies. I don't watch things that people could, like, pure evil. I don't even watch that stuff, right?
After my own heart.
I don't even, like, it got to the point where I only listen to happy-go-lucky music, where I'm like, I need to keep this happy circle around me.
Mhm.
But when the war broke out, it brought the reminder that evil really does exist. I forget. I honestly forget, though, that. Okay, because I lived in this glowy, shiny, I mean, bad things happen, but pure evil, I just completely forget that it existed. And for a moment, it sank me. Like, I couldn't move. I was crying every day. I would go to places with my kids and I would see flashes of things that could possibly happen to them in the most brutal way. I started, like, second guessing my Arab friends that were around me. It really did a lot of stuff. But then all of a sudden I had this moment where I was like, wait, hold up. Life is about balance, right? And if somebody could be that powerful and that evil, how can I not be that powerful and that great? You get what I mean? Like, these people that are that powerful and that evil, a lot of them don't ever even get caught. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't ever get caught. So if I could be that powerful and that great, there's a chance that these people could never ever get me or touch me or, like, even come close to me in no kind of way, no form. And when that clicked for me, I mean, the spirituality part was already on the way. It's been it's been around my whole life, but I was scared of it for a long time. And then when I got pregnant with Leon, it just came back like 100 fold. But then it still was kind of like I was seeing stuff, I was feeling stuff, but it wasn't like every day or every week. It was just like when something huge concerning us would come up, then, I would feel it with her. Like, for example, I remember laying with her and putting her to sleep. And no joke, though, I felt like we were one, like that there was this energy flowing between her and me. And that's what put her to sleep. And that my body had to be so relaxed, like so still, and my head had to be so still in my mind that I finally felt her and me like all as one. And I felt like we had this whole conversation without her even knowing how to talk. She was a nursing baby, you know? I remember in my head, I was thinking about this book that I'm writing. And I was thinking like all of these things about how I should write it, what I should write. And every time I was going out off track, she would tell me, nah, get back here. Like you doing too much right now. Come back. We had this whole conversation. And this baby can't even speak, like words. That's the type of like stuff that I was feeling with her. But so, and it's been growing. Like it's been it's been not so much. I don't know if it's growing, but like me seeing it from a different light, like not being scared of it, but seeing like, oh wow, this is so beautiful. Oh wow, we can do this. Oh wow, like we have this power, that I could lay down on the ground and like let's say
Hold
my
on. Let me go get some water.
okay.
That was kind of wild because it's like you talking and
Mm.
it's going through my whole body. It's resonating on every level. So I guess my body said, go get us some little water and process it with the water. Okay.
Yeah. I hope you brought it back with you.
I did.
Yeah, so I'm like, it was no longer a fear. It was
Mhm.
more like, oh, I could do this. Wow, my kid could do this. It was just, and also I have to make sure to say this. With my oldest kid, I felt like she saved me. She made me slow life down and appreciate just everything. But I was still working so much that I didn't have the time to have this bond with her like I had with my second kid. With my second kid, I was working for myself at this point, and COVID was going on. So I didn't have a choice but to just be in the moment with her,
Mhm.
that's the only reason I see that it was different between both of them.
Mhm.
But it was just like mind blowing that, okay, not only is this happening, but I'm recognizing it. I see it. I'm feeling it. And I'm not running from it. There was a situation that happened with my friend Lovely.
Mhm.
And so when I recognized that I can put my kid to sleep like this, me and Lovely, we were in a room. Eddie had came to visit us, and me and Lovely in a room, and we're talking, and she's telling me how, her book is about to be published, and I'm telling her about our business, how it's growing. And then I felt this like tremble go through my body.
Mm.
Okay. I call it our orgasm. And she was like, I almost ignored it. Okay. And then
How can you?
she said, You felt that?
Yeah.
And I was like, Wait, you felt that too? And it was like a tremble, and then I had chills, and it's like I'm feeling it right now. I'm be honest. I got chills and everything right now talking about it. And I said, wait, hold up. Let me go put the baby to bed. We got to talk about this more. I feel like this is something we need to talk about. And she said, okay. While I'm in there putting the baby to bed, she's in there like, whoa, I can't believe this just happened. I never felt this with, another person. She said she felt it one other time, but like, anyhow, I go put the baby to bed. I'm doing my thing with her. I'm relaxing. I make my body so still. We become one. I put her to sleep. Before I put her to sleep, though, my brain is thinking, what could this have been?
Mhm.
I've never felt this with another person. Why my mind first try to go to the worst thing possible?
Mm.
And it was like, what if you die today? Like, what if this is telling you this is this like But then I was like, oh hell no, shut up. Like, this can't be. No, 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 no.
But
And
what if a piece of your ego chipped off that day and allowed you to experience the expansiveness that actually is between everybody? Because you started this off with the war and evil. If they could be this evil, I could be this this powerful. But in the end, it's always, from my understanding, just two forces. One is the ego that's always, it makes itself. It always creates separation, fear, hatred, judgment, perception. It's consistent. It always makes the same thing, but it always makes us fight against one another. And then there's what, you can call it the light, you can call it God, you can call it force, energy, whatever it is. It's always expansive. It always does miraculous things all the time. It's not based on something you have to do. So you experience a real life, in a moment, remembrance of who you are. And when you had that remembrance was, wait a minute, am I coming close to my death? Or what if a piece of you chipped off that you no longer need it?
so it was a death in a way like of some.
Maybe, that's the questions you ask instead of coming up with a conclusion with it. I always go into the question. If that popped in my head, I would automatically go into, okay, you're showing up at some death. Well, what death just happened? And if this is death, and I'm feeling this way, surely there is no fear in this because I feel so alive. It's so thrilling. It's going through my body. It's electrifying me. It's like a light go on and it does this to you, and it's electricity shooting through you, and you know it's happening. But because maybe if I tell somebody else this, they're gonna think I'm crazy. And I'm holding my newborn baby. Surely I can't tell her, you know, It's like when I went to Egypt and I said, show me a heart. And I didn't know what I needed a heart for. I didn't even understand what I was asking for. And I told everybody who was on the retreat with me, if you see a heart out of a seashell, give it to me. I had everybody on alert. And then I'm walking the beach with one of the guys from the retreat, and he said, there's your heart. And I said, what? And we looked down on the ground, and the creator of all moved the water all the way back, and it was a huge rock, a huge heart in the sand. Now, we on a retreat, no televised. I don't have no picture to show this. I don't have no testimony to give nobody other than telling you that it was a physical human being there with me to witness it as well. And then 5 seconds later, we find a beer bottle shaped in a heart. And when I came back to talk about it to the shaman, he was like, not only did God show you how incredible your request is, he also gave it to you out of the same thing the sand is made out of. So it's like it's a real presence there.
You know, when I was I'm telling you, I remember this so clear. This is how strong it was.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm laying there with the baby, with Leon, and that thought came in of like, what if I'm dying? What if this is the last day on earth? She told me, she said, no, why is your mind automatically going, to the worst thing possible? And it brought me back to, wow, this is incredible. I got to explore it some more.
There we go.
Yeah. And then she went to sleep. And then I went in the room with Lovely and I said, I feel like that this means that you and I have an attachment and that we're going to be, like our success is it's going to happen. Like we're going to be moving together. And so we went out, we had drinks and stuff because I hadn't seen Eddie in months because it was COVID. Actually, probably longer than that. He moved to Arizona. So we go out to have drinks. This whole time, Lovely was on her own. She wasn't paying attention to me and Eddie. Me and Eddie was just like doing our thing. And finally, on the way home, I looked at both of them and I said, I had an epiphany. I know exactly what that meant. And she said, what is it? What does it mean? And I said, it meant that we thought that we were great. We thought that we were successful, and we haven't seen nothing yet. The levels of success and of greatness and of happiness that we're going to see is even beyond what our dreams have even been to this day. Oh my God, for the chills.
Right, right.
So I'm telling her this, and I'm looking at Eddie, and Eddie had just lost his brother, so he was going through stuff, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at Lovely. I said, "This today is the worst day of your life," like, and it's not. And what I mean by that is that if we thought this was greatness and we haven't seen nothing yet, that means that this ain't shit. This ain't nothing. The amount of happiness and greatness that you are going to see after this is even more amazing, that this is going to feel like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that today, right, looking back, since then, Lovely then came out with 3 books. She is, working on so many other things, not just the books, but how to help autistic parents, trying to brainstorm on how to go out on her own. I didn't move from that house to all of this land, and my spirituality went up, her spirituality went up. But on top of all of that, it gave the room and the freedom to grow, to be able to talk about these things with lack of fear. Because like you said, like, there's that, if I would have said something to somebody back in the day about this, I wouldn't have said nothing because I would have sounded like a crazy person. In my mind, I'm like, I'm a crazy person. Why would they believe me? I have no proof. I have nothing, like you said, other than this one other person who was there with me. Today, I don't care. I don't care what nobody have to think or say. This is who I am. Anybody I talk to, like, I'm like, I know I'm going, I know where I'm going. And this is not cockiness. This is not none. It's just purely confidence and knowing who I am, where I'm going, and what I have to do for people. Not just people, but for myself and my kids. and by doing just for myself and my kids and my husband, it will allow me to automatically do these things for other people without it feeling like stress, without it feeling like extra or taken away from us. So it is
If I
powerful.
go back to the beginning of the part of this conversation about the war, I
Yeah.
would say that even when we go into like how evil else is as a nation, or their behavior is so evil, maybe what they're doing is affecting us in a way that make us feel like there is so much evil in the world, right? But still, they're operating not from their God place. They're
Mm-hmm.
operating from their fear place. And their fear place, their ego is housing all of this stuff. But even inside of them, no matter what behavior, cruelty that they have, that the element of light still exists inside of them. It's just that remember the arrows that block you from coming in and out? Their arrows are so blocked, can nobody even come close to it to be able to assist them to be able to free themselves. So the best thing that we could do is to walk all the time, every step of the way, in our own knowings and our own truth and our own light. Because if more people walk in the light, then this behavior subsequently get reduced, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really each person individually to clean up your inside, because this can't outlive the the wind. This
Right.
can't outlive the sun rising. Like, and it's so much stuff in the world, so many different um descriptions of what it is. But what you know for sure is that that feeling that came through you, that knowing that you had, it had no fear of what was going on in Israel, what was going on in Texas, what was going on in Siberia or Africa. It just had a presence of a knowing saying, I was created and fashioned to do something incredible, and I'm one. That unity and that oneness that you felt with Leon is the unity and the oneness that you basically feel wherever you go. So
Mm-hmm.
that energy still exists, and it's upon us to tap into it all the time, to be aware of where we are in every given moment. Like, where am I standing? Am I standing in fear, or am I standing in the light? And ask yourself, okay, I'm having this conversation. What am I learning from this conversation? What is my communication offering?
Mm-hmm.
That's internal communication too.
Yeah. There's, that just brought up another thought. So, that I recently experienced the miscarriage.
Mhm.
And this is the
You,
second one.
you recently experienced the visit of Yatir.
Yeah.
Yatir.
That was coming next.
Okay.
Um, this miscarriage happened at the same time as last time, right
Mhm.
around Hanukkah. And doing this miscarriage, even though it it was very hard losing, you know, my child, a part of me, and physically hard. It also was one of the most beautiful things I could have ever did for myself. And one of the most beautiful experiences just being pregnant with this baby, like you said, Yatim. I feel like from my first baby until this last baby, I went from being so busy and not having time to invest in my children to having this pregnancy and just being so in with myself, in with this baby, that I felt everything. I felt the moment I was pregnant. I felt this baby growing. I felt things that he was telling me, things that I was learning, like I felt everything. And again, this is something you can't talk to the common everyday person about. I know I was 4 months when I had the miscarriage. And even though there's not, no ultrasound to tell me how far along I was, because by the time they did the ultrasound, I was already having a miscarriage. So they couldn't tell.
Mhm.
But I know because I felt the moment I was pregnant, and it took me a minute to go and take the test to see if I was pregnant, but I felt it. I knew 100%. I knew. And that was what this baby and myself did together. Like, that was the magic that we had. And outside of just having all the dreams and premonitions of things that have come true, that I have seen, I also felt like one of the gifts that he gave me was to help other people leave that fear aside who were going through, pregnancies and miscarriages and scared to get pregnant again, scared if they'll lose it again. And I was able to talk to these women and to give them a whole different perspective and help them have hope and see things completely different. And so it really, really was a powerful thing, and I'm glad that like my mind is finally clear enough that I could talk about it like this because shit, I cried. I cried a lot. But even with the crying, I just felt so much gratitude for having this experience with this baby. And I never thought that I could have a nice pregnancy. Like my pregnancies before were so hard. I was so sick and all of this, but this pregnancy, I wasn't sick. I was happy. I was just in it. And I felt powerful too. The other pregnancies, I felt like I lost my power because I was so emotional and so like sick and just all over the place. And this time around, I felt like I had grown so much that I could stand up for myself, that I could think clearly still, that I could make business decisions, that I can get up and do things that I wanted to do, that it didn't stop me, that the only thing was stopping me from doing things was me because I wanted to be in this, that I decided that I'm not about to work that hard because this is the first time that I get to be in this moment. But the anyway, back to the reason I was talking about this is this all was going on during Hanukkah.
Right.
And I watched this this rabbi, he had this video where he said it was I felt like the last step to help me move from crying to not crying.
Okay.
It was two things. I went to the local rabbi's house to have they had a Hanukkah event. The wife did. Her name is Hannah. She's amazing. We're making menorot, uh, Hanukkah menorah,
Hmm.
for Hanukkah, and it ended up being me, her, and this other woman. It was, everybody was invited, but it ended up being three of us, and I was so thankful because I wasn't ready to, be in society like that. And she told us the story of Hanukkah, and she said she told us one of the stories was about another Hannah from back in the day, who
Right.
had all of what was seven boys,
I had seven sons
had
and the
seven,
apostle.
yep, and the king wanted them to bow to the statue, and he went one by one from the oldest to the youngest. If they didn't bow to the statue, he cut their head off to make them examples
In front of her.
in front of her. Yes, and so he got to after cutting each one of their heads off because they didn't want to bow to their gods and their statues. He got to the last one, and even he felt crappy about killing off her sons. That he threw his ring on the ground and he said, "Why don't you just pick up my ring? And then it won't be like you bowing to the statues. You're just picking up my ring." And the son refused to, so he cut his head off too. And Hannah, this really got to her. She prayed to God and she killed herself. She jumped off a roof. The thing that it reminded me with that was that during this season too, I gotta go back a little bit. During this season of this miscarriage, I met more women in my life in this one season than I have my entire life that had lost children that they raised, that lost their husbands, and like people that been in their lives for all these years that they put all this love and attention and care and time into. And it felt like the universe was trying to tell me. And then I heard that story. And it felt like God in the universe was telling me, you are okay. Like, look at all these people, who are what they lost. And look at what you lost. Like, you are okay. Like, count yourself blessed. I know it hurts, but you are okay and you will always be okay. And then I heard this rabbi talk about Hanukkah and what the a deeper meaning for the eight candles. And he said that every day I mean that the Jews, they light the normal 7 candles, right? For the Shabbat, which is the everyday, the everyday thing, the every week thing. They light these candles. But on Hanukkah, the extra candles means it's even greater miracle. Like it's so much bigger. And it just finally felt like in me that I understood now that this is a miracle. Like that my life is a miracle, that everything that I'm experiencing is a miracle. And it just, I swear, I felt like this whole like real rebuild inside of me, and like a whole attachment to all these ancestors and all of experiences that happened in the past that made these women so great. It's just it. I tried to explain it to my husband, but he didn't understand it. There was nothing I could do to explain it to him. And then he talked about the shamash, the candle that you use to light all the other candles. And he said people overlook the shamash, and that it's a helper. That without this shamash, none of the other candles could be lit, which means that you as an individual, your light matters, but then you light all these other candles around you. And so, oh my God, okay, I'm getting the chills again. I keep having to
And
tell.
somebody had to light your candle in order for your candle to be lit, for you to keep going. How much lit yours for you to be here in this moment to even turn on the light in somebody. So that's physically lighting a candle, but inside of you, that candle is always burning, which is such a beautiful segment to go into. Like, one of the things that I call myself is a light bulb changer, because I go in, I switch your light bulb, but it's on you to hit the switch and decide you're gonna turn your light on and turn it on brighter. And when your lights dim, you just go back to somebody. It doesn't matter who it is who can rekindle your fire. So it's like, it doesn't have to be me, but there are a lot of me's in the universe. There are a lot of thems in the universe who help people kindle their fire within. So the miracle is something so normal and everyday, but we make it into like it's something so unique and so special. You're a miracle. The fact that your womb accepted uh, another infant in it, the fact that you and your husband's sperm and egg joined together to create whatever presence showed up for you is already the gift of life. And then the whatever um, baby is forming inside of you decides what stage of life it wants to arrive in. Am I a womb experience? Am I a full experience? Am I a lifetime experience? Am I in between experience? And that's a choice that's made as the lights come together. So anytime, it's painful because we have expectations. It's painful because I just knew this was the one. And here the fear shows up again. I will never try again. It really ain't on you to try. When that baby want to come through your womb, that baby is going to show up, and it's going to show up for the experience it came to show up for. Now, Kana lost all of her children. She birthed every one. It wasn't a experience in her womb that she lost the baby in her womb. She had to watch her children be beheaded. And yes, she stood there in the face of it as a woman, but afterwards, what did she do? She couldn't take the pressure of knowing that her children were all gone. She would rather be with them. So it's like when you look at your own life, it's like you're always here. Yes, the tears are going to flow. Tears actually are like oceans that take you from one dimension to the next. So I'm happy you had the tears to go with it, because it takes you from one dimension to the next. Without those tears, that water, that flow, maybe you couldn't reach back to the ancestral realm and say, which one of y'all showed up for me to visit? And thank you for showing up to visit, you know. And I get it. Of course, you know, I've had miscarriages too. And you still have to go through the process of it until you recognize that everything that I'm supposed to be, I will always be. Everything I'm supposed to have, I will have. So when I spend time here, I'm not in the presence of the gift or the miracle that I am, and that I've been chosen to experience this. Because if this wouldn't have happened to you, you wouldn't be able to expand whatever you're expanding. So what you considered your mess is actually your message. you experience something that other women may not have experienced. So when you walk in a room, you've been tried and battle tested so that now I can come in this room and I can say, these are the steps that I took, and this is what it did to me. This is the impact it had on me. But sis, don't give up if that's something that you want. Go in there, speak to your womb. When you go to the doctor, these are the 5 things you need to know. Did you get your hormones checked? Did you check on this? Let's prepare for having a baby. Let's why do we want to have why do we want to be fruitful and multiplied in our womb? Because maybe being fruitful and multiplying means so many other things. The fact that you have a relationship with your daughters and y'all are fruitful and multiplying the creation of what your talents and gifts and creations are, is that not a gift or a miracle to the universe?
My girls are incredible. Mm.
And if you happen to get conceive again, and it's intended for the baby to go full term and to show up for you, your job is to not get locked in this. Because if you get locked in this, you're inviting more of what you don't want to experience to show up. Just be present for the ride, whatever the ride is, and be filled with gratitude. If there's anything that I could say through each of the rides, when you tap into the gratitude for whatever it is, you can actually take the mess and turn it into your message that only you can speak. You don't know what rooms you're going to wind up in. You don't know what stories you're going to be able to tell that other women can't tell because they didn't have those experiences, but you did. So that you can teach someone about God's favor, the God's love, the miracles, the lighting of the candle, in whatever capacity you keep it in. So if you're Jewish, you're going to keep it in lighting the candles. If you're Kwanzaa, you're going to keep it in the principles. If you're Christian, you're going to keep it in celebrating the birth of the miracle. Like it all ties into the same, but to recognize that every day and every way, you are the miracle. He's the miracle. They're the miracle. A lot of people lose the path of their miracle. The more you can shine your light and teach that miracle, the more expansive you make yourself and others. Does this make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes all the sense. I'm glad you talked about like if you're Jewish, if you know the Kwanzaa, if you um Christian, because my friend Natasha, I think I've spoken to you about her. She's my girlfriend. She came up with that. Um, she's another person who I will allow her to pray for me,
Mm-hmm.
and she's Christian, but she knows me and she respects me and she knows I'm Jewish. That she's her prayers are mighty, you know. But I was telling her because we have such a connection too, and it goes back to those lights lighting each other and everything. It made so much more sense in my head. I saw this movie, this series, American Gods,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the ladies, who was a goddess, um, there was this um there was this episode where she's locked up and she forget her strength, and then when she's so tormented, all of her the women ancestors come to her in her head and they tell her, you forget that you're not alone. You have all of us backing you and together, like these chains can't hold you down. And
Never.
yeah, and so when she said that, then it in my head it clicked. And I know a lot of people won't like see this, understand this, won't agree with it. But again, like you are who you
You
are.
know,
Whatever.
but first of all, to say a lot of people want, that's putting us here. See what the things that you say, you that's expansive and that's known. When you say it, people automatically get it. They understand it. Maybe they start asking questions because they want to know more. Maybe the things that you're going to say right now, what you're going to continue to share with me, is something that they already know resonate within themselves, but they think the same thing you think. People ain't gonna get this, they ain't gonna understand it, so we wind up closing it and locking it in. Well, just talk about it.
I'm glad we're on video so that people could see all of this. That the religions and all of that, all the different religions, it really none of that even matters. There is really that energy connection that we just help in make each other bigger and better because she's a Christian. I have my friend Lovely, you know, the cops, the lady from the library, the principals from the school, like all of us together, we just keep building each other, and
That's the light bulbs.
yeah, and it's just
And when we
such
come around each other,
a thing. Yeah, it
our
just
lights.
is so much better.
This
Yeah,
is wonderful. This is wonderful. Thank you for even considering to have this level of a session, conversation, for the viewers to see. I always like to say it wasn't scripted. We didn't plan it. I didn't know what she was gonna come with. And I'm like, okay. But I know that when you're walking in your purpose and you're walking in the light, the only thing that can show up is the light. So it has there's no doubts in my mind, period, nowhere, that it's not going to be received with nothing but light. And it's going to be very crystal clear to the
I
viewers
feel that
because
too.
everybody is always looking for the expansion and the knowing that resonate inside themselves. You know what you know. And it's on a cellular level. You know that those ancestor women is standing there cheering you on. I don't care who you are. I don't care how far and deep you are. You've experienced a miracle in your life. You've experienced a light moment in your life. You've experienced something that said, I want more of that and less of this.
You know, this is the last thing. Every time I do these interviews, I don't know how long we're doing them. I don't really look at a time or nothing, but the summary comes just when it's supposed to come, and then I look up and it's the exact time.
I love that. I love the flow. I love you and I love I just love you. I love where you're heading. I love that you live out loud. Um, this is not a surprise to me because I remember you telling me that you wanted to have the big brother in your home and all of your life is televised where people just actually glean and learn and expand from your experiences but from your day-to-day experiences. So even to bring something so near to your heart, like I'm driving with my kids, that's something that normally you want to keep to yourself or keep with your close people, that this fear came over me, but somebody needs to hear this conversation to know that if they just focus in on the internal circle to make it expansive and to go in and ask themselves questions and expand, that they actually get a chance to remove themselves from the collective energy. Because you brought two heavy stories, three kind of heavy stories of collective experiences. One was, driving and the police in Texas and the possibilities on the fear factor side. But then 15 minutes later, you was tapped into the factors on the light side, where I've always been protected, surrounded by love and light there. Then you brought the story about the war in Israel. And the same thing, it could have went to a very heavy place, but in the gift of the miracle of recognizing who you are and where you need to go and what's going on with you, you were able to come through that also with the same um, level of connection that you have with Leon within yourself, because the peace really comes from within.
Mhm.
That's the way we share the generational trauma and the generational everything and the collective trauma that's all floating all around. The light comes from within. It comes from a peace that's inside of you that only you can acquire. And then the part about the miscarriage, which was definitely a hard moment in your life because we were all so excited. But the gift is so beautiful because your ability to dream and to receive your dreams and to recognize them. We tried to talk it off. Oh no, maybe it was the dog. The dream came for you,
Right.
and you had to know him before. So the gift was right there. The miracle showed you. That's why you knew to give Yatil a name, because who can he we get Yatilotach, and to take you from chipping off another part of you. And so it's just so beautiful to see this. And we're gonna wrap up for real, with all this yapping I got going, because I gotta go to get my reflexology, and it's constantly a celebration of life. So
Let me say real quick, This is
Okay.
why this woman is so amazing. Ain't no way. I mean, I know when you watch this, you're going to realize how amazing she is. And I will make sure to add all the links on how to follow her, reach her, get her advice. But you better be ready to do some work. Okay. Thank you, Dora. I appreciate
Love you.
the right person for this. Love you.
Love you. Love you. Love you.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right.